The night was quieter than usual in the small, forgotten village of Darsfield, a place shrouded in mist and legend. The air was cold, thick with the scent of damp soil and decaying leaves. At the heart of this desolate landscape stood an abandoned church, its steeple leaning, like a finger pointing, toward a forsaken sky. Locals whispered that the church was cursed, that no priest dared to step within its crumbling walls, for it was said to house something older than God himself, a presence that fed not on prayers, but on souls. When Evelyn Harper arrived from the city to document the ruins for her graduate research, she didn't believe in any of those stories. She was drawn not by faith, but by curiosity, the kind that digs too deep into the soil of the unknown and wakes what sleeps beneath. She carried with her a camera, a notebook, and a naive confidence that reason could explain anything. But in Darsfield, reason had long been buried. The villagers stared as she passed, eyes hollow, faces marked by the slow erosion of fear. They spoke little, answering her questions with tight-lipped glances and uneasy gestures toward the church on the hill. "Don't go there after sunset," one old woman warned, her voice trembling. "That's when the harvest begins." Evelyn smiled politely, dismissing it as superstition. Yet, as she climbed the path toward the church, the wind seemed to whisper the same warning, weaving her name through the rustling grass. The door creaked open with a sigh of old wood, revealing a vast hall bathed in pale moonlight. Dust floated like ash in the air. The altar was covered with black cloth, its edges burned, and symbols, ancient and crude, were carved into the stone floor. Her camera clicked as she documented each strange marking, unaware that each flash of light stirred something in the shadows. That night, Evelyn set up her camp nearby. The wind howled through the broken windows, and though the forest was silent, she could hear faint murmurs beneath the wind, as if a crowd whispered in unison. She dismissed it as wind distortion, yet the sound persisted, rhythmic like chanting. She turned on her recorder to capture the phenomenon. "If this is natural acoustics, it's fascinating," she whispered into the mic. But when she played it back, there was something else. Between the gusts of wind came a whisper that made her skin crawl. "We are hungry." She froze, her breath fogging in the cold air. The voice had not come from outside. It had come from behind her. Slowly, she turned, flashlight trembling in her hand. Nothing. Only the hollow church and its echo. Sleep refused to come. She kept seeing shadows move across the walls, though no source of light explained them. At 3:17 a.m., she awoke to the sound of bells. The church bell tower, broken for decades, was ringing. The sound was low, mournful, almost human. She climbed the staircase, her heart hammering, the old steps groaning under her weight. The bell rope swung by itself, pulled by unseen hands. And then she saw them. Figures translucent and pale, hanging upside down like slaughtered livestock, their faces frozen in silent screams. They weren't bodies, they were souls, tethered by threads of light to the bell itself. Each ring vibrated through them, harvesting something unseen from their ghostly forms. Evelyn stumbled back, choking on fear. One of them turned its head toward her. Its eyes, if they could be called that, were black voids, endless and devouring. A voice, both inside and outside her head, spoke again. "The harvest is not yet full." She ran. The staircase twisted beneath her as if alive. When she reached the ground floor, the carvings on the floor were glowing, pulsing with red light like a heartbeat. The air thickened with the stench of rot and blood. She dropped her camera and sprinted into the night, but the forest seemed to shift around her, each tree bending closer, branches clawing at her clothes. The path vanished. Every direction led her back to the church. Desperate, she screamed into the dark, but only her own echo answered, until a second voice joined it, whispering her name again and again. "Evelyn, Evelyn," the voice belonged to her late mother, who had died years ago. "Come back, sweetheart," it said. "It's time to rest." Tears burned her eyes as she turned toward the sound. There, in the moonlight, stood her mother's silhouette, smiling softly, arms open. For a moment, Evelyn wanted to believe. But then she noticed the shadow beneath her mother's feet. It stretched unnaturally long, crawling toward her like black smoke. Evelyn ran back into the church, thinking perhaps she could hide. But when she entered, it was no longer ruins. It was whole, restored, filled with candlelight and figures in hooded robes chanting in a language she could not comprehend. The smell of blood was stronger now. On the altar lay a man, his chest open, heart still beating, as a robed figure raised a blade above him. The hood turned, and beneath it, she saw her own face staring back. Her double smiled. "You came just in time," it said, voice identical to hers. "The harvest needs a vessel." The hooded congregation turned toward her in unison, their faces blank, their eyes hollow sockets. Evelyn screamed and ran, but her double raised her hand. An invisible force slammed her to the ground. She felt her soul being pulled, her body paralyzed. The chanting grew louder, each word twisting like a hook inside her. Light tore from her chest, a stream of brilliance that spiraled upward into the church's ceiling. She watched helpless, as her own essence was absorbed into the bell, which glowed brighter with each scream. The pain was indescribable, a burning that wasn't physical but spiritual. When it was over, she stood up dazed. The church was empty again. Her camera lay broken on the floor. She looked down at her hands. They were translucent. Her heartbeat was gone. The bell rang once more, and with it, she felt her body pulled toward the steeple, weightless. She screamed, but no sound came out. Below her, her physical body lay lifeless, eyes wide open. The harvest had claimed her. Now she was part of the collection, one more soul suspended in endless hunger. Years passed. Tourists came, vanished, and the legend grew darker. Some claimed to see a woman in the church window, watching with hollow eyes. Some heard the bell ring at 3:17 a.m., always followed by a scream carried on the wind. The villagers said the harvest continues every year, always claiming those who enter without faith. Evelyn's spirit, twisted by despair and pain, became the church's new guardian, bound to collect what was once collected from her. When the moon rises full over Darsfield, her whisper can still be heard, faint and pleading. Don't stay after sunset. The harvest must go on. The church stands still, half devoured by time, its bell rusted but not silent. The souls within hang in their spectral prison, swaying gently in the unseen breeze, waiting. And far beyond, something deeper, older, hungers, something that does not rest until the last light of man's soul is extinguished. The mist thickens, the bell tolls, and another traveler finds their way to Darsfield Hill. The cycle continues. The harvest never ends.